I want to start off by, I know a lot of USAID workers, former workers, alumni are watching this hearing. I want to thank them for their work. They're patriotic Americans. They're out there, they're doing God's work, helping save lives and everything else. And I'm sorry that you guys are caught up in this. So I want to appreciate this on behalf of the United States of America. You guys are patriotic Americans. I've visited with a lot of these folks. I travel a lot, gone into refugee camps, and have seen what they do in terms of life-saving stuff. And again, it's super important work that they do. It represents the best of American values, and it is really sad to see these folks get thrown under the bus. When we talk about stronger, better, more prosperous, I think we're all in favor of that. We're all in favor of working together. Mr. Chairman, Congressman Yoho's my classmate, and he may have been more conservative than you when he got to Congress. Ted, you and I traveled, I think, on your first trip abroad. We went out and saw some of these USAID projects. I watched you over time, become the champion of the BUILD Act, a champion of reforms, and we've continued to stay in touch. Now, what saddens me about this whole approach, now I'm not going to talk about Elon Musk. I'm not surprised by how he's approaching things, but this isn't Twitter. I don't want a 21-year-old tech bro going through deciding which programs we should continue and not continue. Mr. Chairman, I want us to work and do that work. We can go line by line, or we could hire Mr. Yoho to go through line by line and say, hey, here's the programs that make sense, here's the ones that don't. But that's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's our oversight. I don't want that 21-year-old tech bro, probably has never traveled anywhere, has no passport, doing our job. Let's do this work together. And I'm not here to defend every USAID program, but I do believe it serves a really important purpose for our values. We've read Heritage Foundation reports. I worry about what's happening in the Pacific Islands. They put out a good report. We've met with them. We're ceding our influence there. We're already seeing China step in and take things over. We're watching in Cambodia and Southeast Asia. Programs that are good programs like demining, China's stepped in, it's front page news. Let's not shut everything down. Let's make necessary reforms. Let's, as Congressman Yo said, let's focus on humanitarian aid, let's focus on development, and let's look at the programs that do this. For the American people, the most successful development program in the history of the world was the Marshall Plan. That was us. That was the United States of America rebuilding Europe, creating stable democracies, preventing war, lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. That was us. We can do this, and we can do it better and smarter and not betray our values as Americans. But we should do this. This is Congress's job. It's not someone else's job. And I'm willing to work with you to figure out what programs make sense. Let's write a foreign aid authorization bill. But let's do it in a smart way. Let's get former administrators in here. Let's us do the work, Democrats and Republicans, to rebuild a better, stronger, more prosperous USAID. Congressman Yo, we're friends, and we've stayed in touch over the years. I appreciate the BUILD Act. That was bipartisan, and your leadership there. I am a little bit worried because I've heard President Trump talk about creating a sovereign wealth fund, perhaps making that DFC's mission. Will you actually talk about the difference between DFC and sovereign wealth fund?
What I see is the DFC was designed for a specific purpose when we put it together. We wanted to move countries from aid to trade. That was our big thing. And I won't go into why I came up with that. We were on a Codell over in the DRC. And if they want to create a sovereign wealth fund, I think they should do that separately. And I think there was an executive order, in fact, to do that, which is good because if you put it in the DFC, it starts clouding the mission. Are we going to do development, or are we going to do build the trust fund or the sovereign wealth fund? And you start clouding the mission and you get away from what I like to call purity of purpose. The DFC was for hardcore infrastructure projects that will bring in other investors in a region that needs those jobs and the opportunity so that we can wean them off foreign aid. Foreign aid by itself has not brought anybody into prosperity. But working together to build that infrastructure, to create that structure there, that brings in the opportunity, outside dollars, and then we create friendships and allies around the world.
Great, thank
Increases
you.
trade.
Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to work. Let's do the work here in Congress, in this committee, and let's build a better, stronger, more prosperous
And I commend you
USAID.
guys for saying that.